Hey everybody, Shay here. Time for another book haul. This is a culmination of 3 different trips I took to the thrift shops in the last 3 weeks or so. 2 weeks ago I ended up going on this work trip thing. It was hours away, and of course every time I drive hours away anywhere, I check where these thrift shops are so that I can stop at them on my way back home. I think there's about maybe a little bit over 20. I don't know, it's in the title possibly or in the thumbnail. I'm bringing them over a stack at a time because they're in the other room. But without further ado, I'm going to start with the first one because I ended up starting to read it, which is the Steven Erikson. I got the book 1. I finally got book 1. I was trying to find bigger paperback versions. I ended up finding 3 of those paperbacks. I think it was like books 6, 7, and 8 or something ages ago at this point, and I've never been able to find the other books, and I keep seeing them in the mass market paperback format. So because I wanted to kind of see what Steven Erikson's writing is all about, and I know that this is supposed to be a very hard read. I wouldn't say it's hard. It's confusing for sure because they drop you in the middle of the action, but if you just stick to it, you can hang on for the ride. I kind of hooked into what possibly is going on with people who either love it or hate it. I feel like if you have a gaming background, if you've done game mastering a lot, I feel like you'd hook into this a lot easier just because of the format. And this was based on a game that Erikson played with a bunch of other people, and it kind of feels that way. Like I GM'd for about 20 years, maybe slightly over 20 years, and it feels like world building that doesn't really have a start. You know, you sort of just get dropped in and you just sort of go with it. And that's usually how campaigns go, right? Like as players, you get dropped into something, and although you might be in an adventure and the adventure itself has an arc, it's part of this living and breathing world that exists around the adventures your party is playing in, and I feel like that's going on with this book. So I kind of had to jump in because I really wanted to know what the writing was like and what people are talking about when they talk about Erikson's writing style and whatnot. So I found Gardens in the Moon. I ended up finding this book as well, which is Dead House Gates. I actually don't know the order of these. I don't have my spreadsheet up. I got all my receipts in here, which we're not going to take a look at. Well, let's just move on. Yeah, so this is a book 2. So when I'm done book 1, I could start book 2, but if I'm struggling to get through book 1, and this is even bigger than book 2. I didn't talk about the page quality. A little bit yellowing going on with this one, but I mean, for a mass market paperback, it's actually pretty good. The spine is still pretty decent, you know. But this one's pretty much perfect. It's got some dings around the spine, right, and or maybe around the edges and whatnot. But look at the pages; they're pretty crisp and they're white. And man, I don't know. Someone read it once, and okay, there's like a crease at the back if I can get the glare on there, right there with the light. Yeah, there's a bit of a crease. But it's still a pretty solid book, man. The pages are completely white. Like, I feel like this one actually wasn't read. It just got dinged around for a long time. I don't think I can read these back to back. I'm going to read this, and I'm going to take a break. I'm going to read, I don't know, maybe Brandon Sanderson or something like that, just to get, I don't know, just cleanse the palate. Anyways, found book 2, and then I found Steven Erikson's The Bone Hunters. So there you go. Spine is also relatively good. The pages are dinged and bashed up a little bit. There's some, staining on the pages and whatnot. These are receipts. This is the receipt. Let's throw that one away as well. That's the 3rd trip. These pages feel a little bit lighter or flimsier. I'm not sure. The paper quality is a little weird. The cover's a little bit ripped there as well. It's okay. It's okay. We're just gonna move on. I have no idea what book this is, to be honest. Hold on. Let me try to find it. Oh wow, these pages are pretty dirty. Maybe I'll find another copy of this at some point. The Bone Hunters is book 5. Anyways, I don't know which ones I have right now. They're over there. They're somewhere there. I haven't organized my stuff, all my thrift hauls. Anyways, I've got The Bone Hunters. I believe I'm only missing 3 books of the 10 in the series. 3 of them, like I said, are the paperback versions. If I ever find these in paperback format, I will probably get them in paperback format because I think they look cool. I like the size of it. I like the feeling of it. Holy crap, it's 1,200 pages. And book 2 was what? I'm guessing they all go, 1,000 pages. That's great. They're getting bigger. Anyways, so in terms of the Erikson run, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, look at that. You can actually tell. I mean, you can really see the difference of the quality of that second book, huh? Brand spanking new. So they can all be winners. Anyways, and then there's been this series I've been trying to get this particular version of, which is the Harry Potter books, right? But they're in this hardback version. I believe these are the UK print edition. Are these the first ones that ever got released? I read book 1 and 2 and part of book 3 in electronic, but I was reading them. It was someone's books, and it was probably, that says 2005, by the way, so that's about right. I was probably reading them around the 2007. I was traveling a lot. I was on the road. I was in Europe, and so it got hard to read, but I was reading her books along the way. I just stopped at 3. I DNF'd it like twice. Because I knew there was way more to read. Book 7 wasn't out yet, and it was going to be a it was gonna be a haul, and she was a big fan of the series, but she really, really loved it. Anyways, these hardcovers are the ones that I like. I like the spine covers. You know, I'm just gonna show them now. I ended up finding these three books in hardcover format. I don't even know what book order this is. Okay. In any case, I'm going all over the place. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This is the last book. Well, it looks like I got book 7, 6. I thought that was a book 7. Why am I going crazy? All right, so Half-Blood Prince. We got Order of the Phoenix was there, but the cover was torn. Or the sleeve, it wasn't the cover. But I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it. I'll find it eventually. I'm not in a rush to get it, you know what I mean? We got the Chamber of Secrets. I believe this is book 2, yeah. It's Philosopher's Stones and Chamber of Secrets. Book 2, so Philosopher's Stones I don't have. And then I got the Deathly Hallows. I see. There was 7 books, because Deathly Hallows is the last book. So I ended up getting book 6, book 7, and book 2 so far, and I would like to eventually find this entire series. I have definitely seen this series pop up off and on. The covers are usually in terrible condition. The pages are in terrible condition. These ones are pretty much perfect. So I figured, you know what? I'm finally gonna start hunting them down. Even like the sleeves they're perfect. They have no tears. There's no wrinkles. There's no rips. I'm not sure what to tell you. Like these are perfect books. So I figured, I mean, okay. I mean, the sleeve is a little bit dent there. Okay. But you know what? It's a pretty good haul for the start of the series. And I don't know. I just like the spine bindings like this. I feel like they need to be on a shelf, you know? I get it. There's controversies and stuff like that. Listen, I can separate the author from the work, and I'm going to eventually read this series when I have all of them, when I collect all of them. All right, for the next stack, I'm just going to go by author here. I ended up getting 2 books. I think I talked about it in the previous vlog, right? They're very hard to find. Christopher Moore books, and I want these ones. I don't want the mass market paperbacks. I don't want the hardcovers. I want these floppy paperbacks, and I want them in decent condition. That's all I ask for. Sometimes you find them, but well, not sometimes. Like I found maybe 2 of the books that I don't have, but they're just in terrible condition. I just can't buy it. Whereas this one, pretty damn good. The spine is pretty good. It's not creased. There's some fraying on the edges here and stuff like that, right here. But I mean, the book is relatively good. So there you go. We got a Christopher Moore book for A Dirty Job. I ended up getting Fluke. I have actually read Fluke ages ago. This would have been 15, 20 years ago. Probably 20 years ago. I read Fluke. Does that seem right? I feel like that's like a really long time ago. But anyways, Fluke. I would read this again. I had fun going through this one. Or I Know Why the Winged Whales Sing. What an odd book. It was fun. I ended up reading Coyote Blue. I believe it was the first book I read. Melancholy Cove. Does that sound familiar? I can just look at the list on here. The Nuns of Nuns of Melancholy. There. The Lust Lizard of Melancholy Cove. That's the one I read. Yes, The Island of the Sequined Love Nun. I borrowed that one from a friend and read it. Coyote Blue, I read one of the first one. And I believe Practical Demon Keeping was... I probably read them in order then. Practical Demon Keeping, Coyote Blue, Bloodsucking Fiends, I don't believe I finished. I ended up starting on a road trip once by audiobook. I don't think I finished it. Or if I did, I don't remember the book. I don't remember the story right now. Island, there's like moments you just remember, you know, for these books. The Island of the Sequined Love Nun, I do remember that one. That's a plane crash one, pretty sure. The Lust Lizard of Melancholy Cove. I feel like, are these connected? I feel like I'm thinking about these as the same story in my head, and I'm not sure if I just haven't read one of these, and I'm confused. And that says Lamb, which I started reading. I got halfway through, and I didn't DNF it. I just started reading 5 other books, okay? So I have a problem. Anyways, we got 2 more Christopher Moore books, so the collection is growing, and I did look at a bibliography recently, and he doesn't have as many books as I thought he would have, considering the fact that I remember at least 6 or 7 of these titles from like 15, 20 years ago, which is crazy to me. Man, this one was a great find. I mean, I'm kind of shocked. It was the first, I read the manuscript of Skyward, which Brandon Sanderson released on his website. When I first learned of Brandon Sanderson a year and a half ago, when I started this channel, is when I found Brandon Sanderson's website, because I found him from doing the education courses and stuff like that, you know, because people kept saying his name. YouTubed him. That's what I found. Then through that, I found his website. Through his website, I found the manuscript and his like notes, his outlines, and like just his working process for working an idea into a novel. And so he released every part of that working process for Skyward and the beginning manuscript for this book, but it wasn't the full manuscript. And so I read the entire first draft of the manuscript because I got addicted to the read of it. And then it turned out it wasn't the end. I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to find this book and buy it. Man, so it was at the thrift shop and it's in perfect condition. It's got that soft touch cover. My favorite. I mean, it kind of makes me gag a little bit. It's true. I use this on my books, but like, there's something about texture in me that it gives me a reflex that it's very hard to explain. I don't know if I'm the only person. Anyways, it makes me pukey. Not pukey, gaggy. Anyways, but I love it. Anyways, so Skyward, I get to finally finish the series. And what's crazier, I found Starlight, the second book. I know there are 3. maybe 4. Maybe there's like a cryoverse or something like that. This is like the not the Cosmere, I guess, something like that. Okay, so it says Skyward and Starsight, and then it's got another. I don't know what those are. Steelheart, Firefight, Calamity, Mitosis. They're novellas, original novellas, and then we got the Mistborn trilogy. I don't know. I feel like there are more than 2 books. I feel like I've seen a list with more than 2 books. In any case, also got the soft touch and the spine, but I can't like drag my hand across it, or you're gonna see me going gagging like a cat. And the covers, yeah, perfect quality. Look at the pages. Oh my god, I couldn't believe I found these, and they're like the paperback version. They're not the mass market ones. Ooh, I like it. Crazy find as well, because they count it as 1 book, and at this thrift shop, if you buy 4 books, you get the 5th one free. And well, look at that. I mean, on this channel a year and a half ago, I ended up listening to the audiobook of, it was on the channel, one of the first vlogs, right, of Ender's Game, because people have been recommending this book to me for 10 years at least. And then the job I was at, someone said, you got to read Ender's Game, because they heard about the novel idea I had in my head. And they're like, have you read Ender's Game? And I'm like, no. They're like, you should read Ender's Game. And I mean, now that I've read Ender's Game, I kind of know what he was referencing. I don't want to spoil it. I mean, but anyways, I found the trilogy box set, 1 price, which means it counted as 1 book, which it means I got like 2 extra books free. So huge haul deal right there. And they're literally in perfect condition, because they're in the box set. Look at this, man. Pages are in perfect crisp condition. The covers, the spines, they weren't read. Someone got gifted this, and I'm not sure. Don't know, but someone's losses is someone else's gains. And I'm proud to say that I will now read the Ender's Game trilogy. The Ender's trilogy. I think they're just called Ender's, right? Anyways, I know that they don't stick to the same thing that would happen in, I don't want to spoil it, the thing that happens at the end of the first book. I mean, it explores what happens after that, but it changes things up. But I'm kind of curious to see how Orson Scott Card ends up taking this story, and I'm just very excited that I found a box set for $7.99. Let's find some more books. Hadn't even dawned on me why I ended up picking up those Harry Potter books, but I found this one right here, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is, but I found Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. This must be a new book that, I mean, obviously came out after the series. It says parts 1 and 2, so I don't know, a compiled edition. Were these novellas at some point? I'm not sure. It says special rehearsal edition script. I'm sorry, was this the movie? That I never flipped through it, so wow, it's a script. I never flipped through it. All right, so is this a play or something? I don't know. Oh wow. Well, I'm still, I'll still check it out. I mean, the first thing I ever wrote was a play. I was 19 years old and won an award. I'm very proud of that. That's what made me want to become a writer, and here we are, almost 30 years later. And I mean, off and on, that little hope there. Anyways, Act 1, yeah, it's a play. It's a play for something. So I get to see how they wrote a play for Harry Potter, I suppose. Harry Potter theatrical production. It's a theatrical production of Harry Potter. These have started popping up, and so I found it. It's a hardcover. It was in perfect condition. I thought it was a story or a collection of novellas, whatever. And I found them at the same time. I found those hardcovers. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll get into Harry Potter. We'll move on. So I found another Jim Butcher book in the Dresden Files series, and I mean, when they're in this good condition, I have to absolutely get them. Sometimes they're a little trashy, they're a little bit used, and I leave them behind because I figure, there's a lot of these books. I still have other things to read, before I get into the Dresden Files. Look at the front cover, is also in perfect condition. I'm glad when I find these. The patience, it pays off. You know what I mean? It pays off. So I don't know what book this is in the series. I don't have my list up, right? So, but there's a lot of them. There's like, 20 books? I'm not sure. But perfect condition. This was the only Jim Butcher I found, but I think I got maybe 6 or 7 at this point in the Dresden Files series. So it's coming along, folks. It's coming along. One at a time. I've got a Douglas Adams, The Salmon of Doubt. I ended up reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on my road trip probably 8 years ago or so. I went out west, Canada. I'm in Ontario. I went all the way to the mountains and back, and I got through a bunch of audiobooks on the way just to kill time, or when I'm at a park, ready, trying to sleep or relax or whatever before I get back on the road. And Hitchhiker's Guide was one of those books. Obviously, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, very well-known book. This one says Hitchhiking the Galaxy One Last Time. I had never heard of this. I didn't even know that he continued this series or in this universe or whatnot. But I found it. The condition was relatively decent. There's some dings on the corner there. The pages are a little bit yellowed, but for all intents and purposes, it's a pretty sturdy book. Good enough quality for a thrift book. A little bit expensive. I went to one thrift shop that the prices were like $1.50 or $2 more than the one I usually go to in closer to my town. But this one was like, an hour or 2 hours off. A bigger town, bigger prices. It was a decent condition book, and I figured, I like Douglas Adams' writing. I'll give it another shot. Let's pick another one off the top here. We got a Neil Gaiman book, The Graveyard Book. I had never heard of this. It does say with illustrations Illustrations by Dave McKean. Now, Dave McKean was the artist for the Sandman covers. I've got a Dave McKean art book. I love his work. My artwork was inspired by Dave McKean's work 30 years ago. A huge inspiration off of that kind of style where it's mixed media. It can be photography, it can be painting, it can be drawing, it can be, you do whatever you got to do in order to make the art, the flat art, however you do photography after of all that stuff together, digital, whatever you got to do in order to make the art. And that's kind of more what I mean by the inspiration. I never stuck to one medium. I always mixed things up, and it was always because of Dave McKean. And so Neil Gaiman, I've been buying some of his books. Controversy again going on with this guy, but his writing was something that absolutely inspired me early on. It was one of the first books I ever owned. I still remember I was 16. It was my 16-year-old birthday. It was a long time ago, like 3 decades ago. On one of my birthdays, my parents got me the full collection of the Sandman run, which would have been huge expensive. But I was already into comics since I was 9. But by the time I got to teen, these were adult reads and stuff like that. They found these. I mean, my dad didn't really care what he would buy me and what he let me see. But so Sandman was some of the first stuff I ever read. And so Neil Gaiman, unfortunately, despite the controversies, his writing style and imagination was something that inspired me. And I mean, I hate the real world throws curveballs at you with these dumbasses. But here we are, the first book I ever found of Terry Pratchett. I've been looking for Terry Pratchett books since I started thrift hauling because, there's a lot of books in the Pratchett world, Discworld, right? I'm not even sure if this is part of Discworld. This feels like it's a story for YA, possibly, and I say this because of, there's illustrations on the inside, the font is very low, but I figured it's still a Pratchett book and I want to give it a shot because I literally never read a Pratchett book, which is crazy. I hear it talked about a lot. I know there are a lot of them, again, to get through, and I figured, you know what, if I find one, maybe the luck will start to roll, you know what I mean? I'll start to find some like Discworld books and give those a shot. Otherwise, I'll hunt them down eventually at some point, but I got enough to read, you know what I mean? So hardcover, I don't have to really show it. It's a perfect quality. It's perfect quality. This is also at one of the thrift shop that's like well out of town, unfortunately. So it's not like I can't really revisit these ones. This had an amazing selection. I'm not even through the entire stack, right? But another awesome buy here because of the quality. They had really good quality used books there, and it's crazy because the quantity was way less than the one that's about 30 minutes away from me, right? But that's the biggest one. It's the biggest one, and then the one closest to me is maybe the second biggest, but the quality is just crap. It's crap. But then this one was really good. And then I found the Legends of Shannara. So I wasn't going to collect anything past, I forget what it is. It's like I got about 12 of these books now. The first 12 or something, maybe more, something like that. And there was a point there where I was like, okay, I'm going to stop right here. Because I don't know what happens after this, but it's going to be hard to find these newer versions. I checked my list. Legends of Shannara was one of those books that I wasn't going to buy, but it was a hardcover at this one place. The pages are in perfect quality. The sleeve is good. So I was like, okay, I guess let's add them to the list and let's start hunting down the newer books of the Shannara series, as long as they're these hardcover books with this spine right here. They match the ones that I've been collecting. And hey, we'll just complete the collection. This is going to be a massive read. Man, when I eventually get to it, this is going to be a lot of work. Anyways, and then I found another Ian Rankin book, Midnight and Blue. This is the one that's about 40 books, and I've been chipping away at it, and I've accepted buying the mass market paperback of anything that's missing because some of them legitimately don't even have other versions, and they're really old, and they're going for like $60-$70 on Amazon used and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay. if I see them, I'm gonna buy them. I can always upgrade them. They're gonna be $4 or something like that. You upgrade to one of these ones at the place near me, it's about $7. Actually, I got this one at that other place. Anyways, they're about $7 usually for the hardcovers. They're about $6 for the paperbacks, and then for the mass market paperbacks are usually $4. And if they're like crappy quality, then they reduce it to $3. But this one, perfect condition. And so we got another one, Midnight and Blue, off the list. And I think I'm like 70% of the way through Ian Rankin books, if not more. It's crazy. I probably got about 30 books at this point, and it's all since starting to collect them in September. I'm going to get the last haul. I said the last haul, but I got these in the last stack is what I meant. Okay, so I had to commit. This one's been a killer because I have absolutely seen Dark Tower books for the last 8 months on these shelves, but they're always in absolutely horrendous quality. The spine on this one, there's no creases. The pages are decent. There's no real stains. There are some stains, but they're good. They're good. The quality was so good that I'm just like, okay, it looks like I'm going to buy book 4, and then I'll see what happens, because I see, for example, the mass market paperbacks, but it looks like it's gone through a grinder. I don't understand. I'm not going to buy, I'm going to buy this copy. I'm going to buy this copy. These are the ones I'm going to look for. I know what they look like. I know I've seen other versions of them. just in terrible quality. But eventually, if I'm patient enough, hopefully I will find all of these. Or if I'm ready to read a Stephen King again, it's been 30 years since I read Stephen King. Stephen King was the first author. I would say I started reading when I was young. But I'm saying of like adult books, the first book I ever read was Cujo. It was a bad idea. I was probably 9. It was a bad idea. The second one, I believe, was Pet Sematary, or I started to read it, but then I watched the movie, and I was also young, and I shouldn't have watched that movie because it was bad. And then in high school, I ended up doing a project about the apocalypse. It was in religious studies, I was in a Catholic school, and what did I end up doing mine on? The apocalypse, the Revelations, and I was like, well, I'm going to watch The Stand. I'm going to read The Stand, and I'm going to find a way to bring this all together. I made a piece of art with the 4 horsemen and stuff like that. And I made all the whole thing. And so Stephen King, The Stand, I read half of the book because, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I got to the halfway point. I don't know. There was a break there, and I'm like, this is a really big book. I was 16, and I was like tapping out. I mean, I had no more time. It was a high school project, for crying out loud, and I had to tap out. At the time, they were releasing the TV series. I think it was a 5-part series that played on television before the whole streaming thing. Okay, this is like in the mid-90s, man. What I remembered, I really enjoyed, and so I would like to return to The Stand at some point. That was the last Stephen King book I ever read. Yes, it was like 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. So I've heard that the Dark Tower series connects all of Stephen King's books. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how that works. I know that I think one of these books directly connects to The Stand, or The Stand connects to this. I heard this recently, and I was like, okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of Stephen King, because that's most atrocious looking books on these thrift stands. Like people just demolish Stephen King books. I think they just circulate so many hands at thrift shops that I'm never going to buy it. I'm going to buy them new. You know what I mean? That's where we're going to come down to. Anyways, this is pretty much new. So if I buy these ones new, as long as I get these copies, I'm going to be happy. But it would be expensive to buy these new. So I'm going to be patient, and hopefully I will find them along the way. Let's move on. We got this one right here. I mean, it's just because the quality of the book. It looked nice. It's brand new, right? It's an anthology, and it's steampunk anthology. And I like the design. Hardcover. It's got those like toothy pages. I love these toothy pages. Very old time feel, and I love steampunk, and I realized I don't have any stories on steampunk. I don't have any. I think I ended up buying a Jim Butcher book of whatever series that's not Dresden Files. I got a hardcover once. I thought it was Dresden Files, and it was like Arrow something. So that's on the stack over there, one of the early stacks from the thrift shop, and I think that might be Arrowpunk. Is that right? I'm making stuff up. In any case, steampunk, man. So I got an anthology here that I can crack into. I want to start putting short story anthologies into my TBRs, just so I could start just get something done, like read a short story, and then I feel fulfilled. You know what I mean? Then we can move on, because I kind of get that from manga, like Junji Ito, because I just finished No Longer Human. But they're sequential, the stories, but I feel like I can read one of those chapters and then I could take a break. And it's like, why don't I do that with short stories? I don't know, but I've started to find a lot of really cool short story anthologies at the thrift shop, so I should probably start. So the next one, I got Towers of Midnight. This is a Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. So this is when Brandon Sanderson took over for Robert Jordan after he passed away to continue the Wheel of Time series. I've got no books for the Wheel of Time. I don't think. I might be lying. I think one of the thrift shops, I might have gotten 4 of them. I'll be right back. Yep, I got book 1 to 4 of the Wheel of Time in paperback format. So this is a hardcover. You know what, though? It was in pretty much perfect condition. And so I figured I'm nowhere near book 13, but eventually I'll get there, or I will buy them new, if I actually start reading. But look how chunky this sumbitch is. Like, this is crazy. Each book is pretty hefty as it is. Now, I've heard a lot of great things about the Wheel of Time. I remember hanging out in the drama room back in high school, those high school days, and I remember having borrowed book 1 of my buddy's Wheel of Time series, put it in my backpack, and then while taking it out of my backpack, I ripped the cover in half, and I felt so guilty. It's been 30 years. What am I going to do? It's over. I did feel guilty because I took very good care of my books, but for some reason that goddamn book, it got caught on something, and the cover ripped in half, and it was like maybe an inch left on the cover, and it was just hanging there. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Anyways, that's my history with the Wheel of Time. I didn't end up actually reading it. That's also my memory. The big unfortunate part there is I had the book. I never ended up reading it, and I gave it back damaged. Horrible friend. And then the last 3 books, actually I'm going to show one more, which is on the ground here. It's not it's a book, it's a comic. So it's Assassin's Creed. I found this comic Project 4. So I mean, I've been playing the games. I'm somewhat familiar as to what this could possibly be, and I'm trying to just buy anything Assassin's Creed that I find along the way. So Assassin's Creed. And to be honest, the trade is in pretty decent condition. There's a flare right here, but otherwise pretty good. Put it in some plastic, put it with my other trades in the collection, and there we go. I'm not sure how many more Assassin's Creed graphic novels there are. This one feels like it might have been a 4-part series. Looks like good quality. To be honest, the art is not. I should probably show you. The art. Wow, I flipped to the to a black page. The art is pretty decent. Very saturated colors and stuff like that, which I never expected, but it's got a bit of that modern vibe, I suppose, right? Because it's in the real world. I'm looking forward to reading it at some point, as long as it's in order with my gameplay continuity. Now, the last 3 books, they are part of the same thing-ish, but I don't know what order they're in. But in any case, I don't have book 1. I ended up finding James S.A. Corey's book for The Expanse, and they're just really good quality paperbacks, man. And when I say good quality, I mean they're basically brand new. They're hefty, they're thick, they look unread. The spines are completely perfect. We got the Abaddon's Gate here, Expanse on Sci-Fi. I've been meaning to watch this. I think it's on Prime as well. I'm not sure, but I've been meaning to do a reaction series on it at some point. And we got Caliban's War. Book 4 or 3, it doesn't matter. This is book 2, 3, and 4. In any case, I'm missing book 1. Oh, they're on the spine. Maybe. So we got Caliban's War is 2. We got Abaddon's Gate 3. We got James S.A. Corey. Sorry, that's the author's name. I don't know why they flipped that. Why would you do that for book 4? That's so stupid. So what is that called? Cibola Burn. Hefty books. Pretty chunky. And you know what? I actually like the design of the covers. I just look at that. I mean, it just looks cool. I like the font, the heftiness of the font. I know this is kind of nerd talk, like probably not important, but it's just, I do like good cover designs, man. Anyways, I like this bold font. Is what I'm saying. It caught my eye. I'm like, what is this? Then I read The Expanse. Isn't that a show? Oh, cool, isn't it? Like a show I was going to watch, because it was probably like, I think it has to do with dark matter. And the story I was writing was about dark matter. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch it, because then I could be influenced by something. So I wanted to write my draft before I watched something like Expanse, so that my idea was on paper. My idea is actually based on Darkhawk, the character Darkhawk from 1990, 1991, Marvel Comics, and then mixed with Mass Effect as probably in my top 3 favorite games of all time. I mean, it's fighting with Red Dead Redemption 2 as an experience, but Mass Effect as an IP is probably my favorite IP of all times, because it closed the idea I had with this like homage to the Darkhawk character. It's not really the Darkhawk character. It involves twins, but it's that it involves the idea behind Darkhawk in this first 50 issue run, which I was a big fan of. I ran a Darkhawk website for years. I shouldn't even say this next part out loud. I actually exchanged emails with the executive producer of one of the Marvel films, because they were talking about bringing Darkhawk to the big screen. So anyways, should I have said that out loud? They probably don't care. Years have passed. Obviously it didn't happen yet, but there's signs out there. Anyways, he remembered my website basically, and he found me on Wayback Engine. And then we had some exchanges for like a couple months about Darkhawk, the character, and how to bring him to the big screen. I know, crazy. I know. I didn't sign no NDA, but I did think that we probably shouldn't say this stuff out loud. I don't think you'd get in trouble for it. I'm not sure. Anyways, because I had that exchange with him, though, really pumped me up about like getting my idea out there, because I got afraid. I got afraid because I gave ideas that I'm like, those were not Darkhawk's ideas. Those were my ideas. I'm just saying that if I were to approach this, I might think of doing these ways of approaching it that would bring it into the modern sensibility of the modern audience. And then I learned about The Expanse. So a work friend told me you should watch Expanse. It probably has something to do with that, because he was familiar with Mass Effect. So as soon as I find book 1, or in this particular case, I might actually buy book 1, because these are in really nice condition. And considering I got each of these for $6, and the cover price is $20.50 Canadian, I don't know, maybe find it on sale. It still pays itself off, and I get to read the first book of The Expanse. Now, my question would be, do I watch the series first, or do I read it? Like, which came first? I'm assuming the books came first, but nowadays I don't know. Anyways, that's the haul. I'm keeping these a little shorter. I meander a lot with my talking. This was a lot of books. And I went to the thrift shop today because I was on the road doing this other errand during lunch. Of course, I had to step in. I didn't find anything. And so I'm like, let's just clean off this stack, because there's already a lot of them here. And then I gotta go to another thrift shop next week, because I'm gonna go to the eye doctor again. I'm gonna be able to check the thrift shop again in that town. So there we go. That's another haul out of the way. I didn't know if I was gonna continue these, but I do feel like this channel is going to focus on this kind of stuff. Reading, writing, just talking about this kind of stuff, and connecting with community along the way, with getting creative, man, getting your energies out there, and just like trying things, not being afraid to take risks with your own creativity productivity and not be afraid of just getting things done. And sometimes it involves like reading a bunch. It's like fuel, right? You gotta fuel up the engine, man, and then you can write. And so that's where I've kind of stopped doing a bunch of other stuff on the side because I'm trying to get the writing again. For me to get writing, I gotta read a lot, and I know that's the process that I have to go through. So maybe there'll be like episodes about that kind of process along the way as well, and we'll try to connect all of this stuff somehow along the way on this channel. Thanks for your time as always. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.